Hey Jackalls, I have been editing videos with a normal hard drive, like this one, for quite some time. And I can tell you that switching to an SSD is like night and day. And do you know what's also like night and day? You subscribing to my channel because you want to see video editing and tech content. Now let's get digital. So what kind of issues did I have when I edited videos on a hard drive? Let's take a look. As you can see, I have a bunch of cuts, and in the audio, whenever I played it, well, most of the time, during the cut, I would hear a popping sound, and if I didn't fix that, the audio popping sound would also be heard in the final video. So what I had to do was go to the left or to the right and move the audio, just like that. Now the second issue that I had was a loud popping sound. Whenever I move the playhead over a part of the video that hasn't been used for a long time, I got scared, basically, because the sound was so loud. And lastly, the third one, whenever I put video clips in that were a little bit longer, the audio waveform could take up to 1 minute to load. So the best way to improve my editing experience was to use an SSD, an M.2 SSD, and more specifically, an M.2 nvme SSD. You can also use a SATA SSD, but if you have the option to use an nvme SSD, I suggest you use that one because it's at least twice as fast as an SATA SSD. So what are the different disk speeds? A hard drive has up to 160 megabytes per second, which is decent for saving files, but nothing else, at least if we evaluate it individually. A SATA SSD has up to 550 megabytes per second, which is 3 times as fast as a normal hard drive, and that alone will make for a nice video editing experience. But an NVMe SSD has speeds usually around 2000 megabytes per second, which is 4 times as fast as a SATA SSD. However, if you want the best of the best, you can get an NVMe SSD with speeds up to 7000 megabytes per second. 7000! And I can't even imagine what you can do with all that speed. Anyway, let me give you an example of what you can get for $100/euros. A 4TB hard drive, a 1TB SATA SSD, or a 1TB NVMe SSD. If I had to choose one between the three, I would choose hard drive for storage and the NVMe SSD for speed. But if you want to have both, you can get around 2 TB of hard drive and 500 GB of NVMe SSD. So what's the difference between the disks? Physical size, speeds, and connectivity. And let's not forget, if you want to have the highest speed possible, the M.2 SSD needs to have 1 notch and not 2, because the 2 notches means it will have the SATA SSD speeds, which is up to 550 megabytes. When installing a hard drive or a SATA SSD, you will need a SATA cable, a free SATA slot on your motherboard, and a power connector on a power supply. But what about M.2 SSDs? Can you use them if your motherboard doesn't have an M.2 slot? Yes, you can. You can use a PCIe extension cord like the one I have. I have a cheap one from AliExpress, but you can find one online that suits you. You install the M.2 SSD on top of this extension cord, and you then connect this extension cord in one of the PCIe slots on your motherboard, so no cables are needed, just plug and play. What kind of speeds you can get will depend on the motherboard that you have, and if you want to use the disk as a system drive, meaning you have Windows or Linux installed on it, this too will depend on the motherboard. Some of them don't support the booting option using this method. I have a B350 Tomahawk motherboard, and in the user manual under PCIe slot bandwidth table, I can see what kind of speeds I can expect from the SSD. I have the GPU installed. This is PCIe E2, and then I can go into the table and see which one gives me the best speed. So from this table, just by quickly looking at it, I can see that this one, PCIe E4, gives me PCIe 2 with 4 channels, if I don't have anything else enabled other than the GPU. So this is the slot that I used for the extension cord. And to calculate the final speed from this, is just a simple expression. For PCIe 2, it's 500 megabytes per one channel, and from PCIe 3, it's 1000 megabytes per channel. So in my case, it means PCIe 2 500 times 4 channels, for a total of 2000 megabytes per second, which means that buying an SSD with much higher speeds than this is pointless because I wouldn't be able to utilize it to its full potential. I have also done the crystal disk test, and as you can see from the results, the speeds are around 2000 megabytes per second like calculated. That's because the PCIe 2 has some headroom, and you'll usually get 75 to 80% of the maximum calculated speed. And if you have at least PCIe 2 with 2 channels, this is faster than a SATA SSD. So in my case, that would mean that I can have all PCIe slots connected, and I would still get 750 to 800 megabytes per second speeds, which is faster than a SATA SSD. Having a fast and big SSD means that you'll be able to edit smoothly and you won't have to delete the files immediately. Although if you want some storage, I suggest you use a hard drive. Did you find the video helpful? I know you did. So hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and enable the bell notification icon so don't miss my next video. What kind of video? Video editing and tech content. I'm Simon, and until next time, Jackalls, keep it digital.